before on different episodes, but what does COB mean?
Right. So COB stands for continuously open bidding, and that's like how we run our recruitment in the fall semesters. There's no formal rushing process. It's just like P&Ms can meet up with sororities, go on coffee dates, dinner dates, just to get to know the organizations and the sisters. And if a sorority chooses to extend a bid during that time, they can do so. But just like the COB process, it's very laid back, very low pressure. Just kind of a get to know me kind of scenario.
So you were saying about that's kind of how the fall semester goes. Is that for all of Penn Hill, or is it just for KDPHI?
Yeah, so as of now, the fall semester, we run recruitment through COB, and then the spring semester, which is where we get our largest draw of PNMs. This year it was formal recruitment. Past years it's been partially structured recruitment. But yeah, COB is definitely like our low maintenance, like not a continuous process.
What would you say is the difference between formal and like partially structured? Because I've been hearing some things about that this week, and I kind of was a little bit confused because obviously, recruitment in terms of Penn Hill and IFC is completely different. Whereas, you guys are holding these formal events on the weekend, this past weekend to be exact. Whereas us, we have a rush week, we have rush events, and people come out, and it's a lot more simple. But what's the difference between formal and not semi-structured? I guess is what you were saying.
Right. So the difference between partially structured and formal is really the biggest thing is just the timeline. So partially structured recruitment takes place over like a week and a half, whereas formal recruitment takes place on just that weekend.
Yeah. So I just want to ask how formal recruitment went. I mean, I know that we've talked to plenty of our sweethearts, plenty of our friends in the community, and you guys are tired. I give you guys a lot of credit because, going there for 3 days straight for numerous amount of hours, it's a lot of time. But how did it go for you guys?
Right. I think for my sorority specifically, it went really well. But even just sorority life in general, I think this year was just, I don't know, it felt different. It felt like a really good year for everyone. And it was just something like I was excited to be a part of and also to witness. I think the groups of PNMs we had, I think they were really open to connecting with sororities and didn't come in with these preconceived thoughts. And I think that just made the whole process so much easier. And it was just a really good experience. And I'm happy that I was part of it.
Well, one question I do have, because this is something that we've kind of hit on the last couple of years, is I would say our older students. Luke was a sophomore when he joined. We had Kenny Griffin joined as a junior last semester. Reed Gross was a junior last spring. Did you see it being a lot of freshmen, or did you see more of did you see some sophomores, some juniors?
Right. It was definitely underclassmen for sure. A lot of freshmen, a lot of sophomores. There were a few juniors in there. But I think, even though there were more freshmen, I was still happy to see upperclassmen because I feel like there is a stigma that, if you're a junior or, even a later sophomore, people think, you shouldn't rush, it's too late. But that's not the case. And I was really glad to see that, girls were still coming out despite that.
Oh yeah, and speaking of, at least for us, we've had new members coming in to start their senior year where they became a brother for only one semester before they graduated out and became an alum. So it's we very much encourage that for the upperclassmen. I think a lot of times an upperclassman like myself, I obviously rushed because I was looking for the support system. Sophomore years did not start off well for me, but whenever you look at that, I think it's very interesting to see why people would rush once they're in their second or third years. And obviously for freshmen, it's kind of obvious that they form those bonds early on, and that's something that a lot of times you find that they're set on doing it. But I think our class this semester is predominantly freshmen. But yeah, there's been times past where we're recruiting juniors. Again, like I said, we've recruited seniors before, and of course sophomores in their fourth semester. But overall, you're looking at now a semester ahead with your new members. What are your hopes? What do you always look out for? And what do you always hope to see out of your new members whenever they join the organization?
Right. So I think the biggest thing we look for in new members is an ability to build community. I think Greek life, for a lot of people, is they want it to be a safe haven for them. They want it to be a place where they can go and connect with people and feel heard and seen. And so during recruitment, we're just looking for people who have a certain level of empathy is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. And I think the biggest goal for this class is to just help kind of mesh them into our pre-existing with the older members and then before them. But yeah.
Okay, so, and this is also going to go back to kind of you for a second here. So, you joined KDPHI NOS in the spring last year, correct? Or
In fall 23.
fall of 23.
Yes,
Okay,
yep.
that's right, because you're transferring. Yeah.
Yes.
So after you become a sister at KDPHI NOS, you then run for Sweetheart for our organization, and obviously we took you in. So, what was the reason for coming to us?
I had some friendships in Kappa Sigma before I decided to run for Sweetheart, and the friendships I did have, they were really like kind of monumental for me. Like, I don't know, like I feel like as a female, like it's nice to have friendships with people of the opposite sex, and so because it allows you to see different viewpoints, and so I just got really close with them, and then one of my friends just brought up the idea, like, hey, like maybe you should run for Sweetheart, and then I did, and now we're here.
Yeah, kind of going off what you just said about, like, being friends with the opposite sex, that's something that I've always done, and I've always been good at it, and I give a lot of credit to my girlfriend for trusting me in a sense of, like, I'm going to be loyal, I can be friends with both, but, like, I've always at least had, like, that one or two, like, girl best friends, so to speak, because, like, it's taught me a lot. It's taught me a lot. It's made me more responsible. It's made me more respectful in a sense. Because, like, when you're young, you don't know, like, there's something that you could think in your head and you're like, oh, that's a normal thing. Like, that sounds okay. And then you say it to them and they're like, no, why would you say that? That's terrible. But, yeah, I remember when you were, you were a new member for KDPHI. We were friends, and then obviously, running for Sweetheart and everything like that. Overall great process and everything like that. Just a whole lot of fun, but I actually don't know this. So was fall of 2023 your first semester here at SHIP?
Spring of 23.
So you would have been a first semester sophomore?
I transferred halfway through my freshman year. So I started college in fall 22.
Okay.
In spring 23.
Where did you get before here?
I went to Bloomsburg University, which is now Commonwealth University of Pennsylvania.
I didn't know that. When did that happen?
They merged like right after I left, so I'm kind of glad I got out of there before then. But
was there any, like, why SHIP? Like, why going from Bloomsburg at the time to Shippensburg University?
Yeah, so it kind of sounds a little lame, but like when I was at Bloomsburg, I went home every weekend because I missed my mom. and so being at SHIP, I'm like 35 minutes away from home, so it's super close, and I don't know, I value my family, and so it's just nice to be able to know that I don't have to drive an hour and a half home anymore.
Do you go home often then, or
Not
no?
as,
That's the.
not as much as I used to.
Isn't that ironic? Because it's like I started off freshman year in the same position where, like, I went home enough, just kind of missed it a little bit. Also, I didn't really have a lot going on my weekends, so, like, I wasn't busy enough. Like, you get bored quickly,
Right.
in freshman year. Become a junior or a senior, and then you're gonna yearn for those days again because you're just running around like crazy. But yeah, with that said, like, it's kind of funny how you have that resource, it's there, like, you can run home, get back in a couple hours, like, you need to go home or anything like that, but you don't end up going home, probably because you're, number one, too busy here, but number two, you're happy.
Right. I was gonna say that's the biggest thing. Like, hearing you talk, like at Bloomsburg, I was not happy. I was sad, and I just missed having a community. And then I transferred to SHIP, and I found that community. And like, as much as I love my mom and I love seeing her, I love KDPHI NAS, and I like being with my sisters in my free time. So.
What was the Greek scene at Bloomsburg, now Commonwealth?
It was messy. That's all I'm gonna say. It was messy.
Okay. Yeah, I think. Here I can say, I think our Greek scene is pretty solid. I mean, we definitely, and I'll say this, it's known and it's abundantly clear, like, we have a president at this university who fundamentally respects and appreciates Greek organizations. I think he appreciates the campus culture in general, and that's something that, unfortunately, that's not a given, whenever you have the higher ups at institutions like this. But Charles Patterson, he does an excellent job of supporting our organizations, making sure that we're recognized and we're at least we're functioning well, and then he provides that outreach at big events. I remember him coming up to our table during the fall welcome weekend, and he took a snow cone from us. It's small gestures like that just show he's willing to interact with us at that level. Like, he doesn't see himself as like separate from us like the students. So I think that matters as well, but also it's the people within it. You got to have the right people in it, and that's where, like, for our chapter, at least speaking for us, we've really done an excellent job of making sure that, while we're getting big, because we are huge. I mean, at this point, we have over 50 members. I've said it before. You bump into anybody on campus, there's a more than 1% chance that person's a Kappa Sigma brother here. So that speaks volumes as to like what's going on with our chapter. But we also want to make sure that while we're getting quantity, we're also getting quality. Don Edmiston, I know he's listening to the show right now. I'll never forget when he said it during Alumni Day last year, Founders Day last year on April 27th it was. He said it. He said, we have a lot of quantity, but you don't get quantity without first getting quality. Whenever you get quality, quantity comes with it. So how's your organization size-wise? Like, I guess that's a nice transition point. So what's your membership like, and how's that looking?
Yeah, so currently we have 23 actives, and we have 6 new members, so we'll be looking around 29. But I just think from where we were a year ago, we have grown significantly. In the spring of 24, before we had recruitment, we had 13 active members. That semester we got 13 new members, so we were at 26. And I just think that was huge for us, because not only like that allows us to spread our influence, but it allowed us to have like a bigger community, a bigger sisterhood, and that really resonated for a lot of our girls, and it was something that we all appreciated.
Yeah, I definitely remember that. How much you guys just straight up absolutely killed it.
Mm-hmm.
That was definitely a huge talking point within our organization, within all of Greek life, in total. Like, you guys did absolutely phenomenal. But how many? Because we had Sean from PSK on the show a couple weeks ago, and one thing we talked about was that he had 4 of himself being a new member from last spring. Him and 3 others from his new member class are now on the executive committee. How many new members from last spring are on your new executive committee?
From the sisters who joined in spring 24, we have Celia, we have Lauren, we have Emmy, and I believe 3 of them. So 3 out of 7. So it's nice to have like a fresh perspective on things, for sure.
Like, that was definitely something I was talking to Sean about. And I've always like sat back and like I always realized, I'm like, oh, they always have young leaders. I was like, why do they do it? And then he started talking about it, and I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. Like, get that new, the fresh ideas in there. And like, that's just something that our organization kind of hasn't historically done. Historically, it's kind of been like, we have 5 exec members. Usually our top 2 are kind of our older guys. And then, as you go down, it starts to get a little bit younger. But, that's just how it usually goes. It's like, usually how we do it is, you have like at least a year of like holding a chair, and then like, people will see what you do with that chair. Like, okay, Rainey killed it as PR chair. I wish that he would have been on the executive committee. He had a very good chance to be on the executive committee, but ultimately he said that he had a lot of stuff going on, and it ultimately paved the way for Alex Staub, who is 100% going to be another future leader in this organization. I see a future president in him. I see the determination every single day. But kind of going back to, as I just said about president,
right.
What was your previous exec position, and, what paved the way for president for you?
Right. So when I joined, I jumped right in on e-board. I was our sergeant at arms, and that kind of deals with, like, to put it, like, in simple words, like a sorority, like, justice system, I guess. Like, we have just a system where, like, we make sure people are following the rules that they need to follow so that our organization is reflected in a positive light. And so I held that executive position. And going through that, I learned a lot. I learned not only a lot about myself, but, like, my abilities and, like, remaining unbiased or, like, hearing people out, communication skills. And it was just really beneficial for me. And because I grew so much and I had noticed that, I knew that I wanted to remain on executive board. And then it probably wasn't until like mid-November where I decided like, okay, I should probably run for president. And we had our elections like soon then. But
like, I remember hearing about your name for president way before November, actually. I don't know where I was hearing it, but like, they were always like we have multiple KDPHI NAS sisters as sweethearts in our organization, and they're like, well, Aubree's going to be the next one. And it got to a point where I was told this, and I don't even think Aubree even knew. Like, I think I was like, oh, so are you, like, going to do it? are you going to be the next president? She's like, I don't know.
Yeah, it was definitely a decision I wanted to sit on and like really think about what I was getting myself into. And it was scary at first to think about, but now that I'm in it and like living it, I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about this as we move through the hour. So you're listening to Greek Speak again on WSYC 88.7 FM with Aubree Meyers today for our special guest.
Listen to Greek Speak on WSYC 88.7 FM from Shippensburg, Pennsylvania, for engaging conversations about all things Greek life with Luke Rainey, Andrew Mercier, plus special guests every Friday at 10 a.m.
Yeah, so we're talking obviously about you getting into presidency, and what I can say is this is, you know, obviously like I turned down the opportunity to try and take our scribe officer position, but I'll say this, I turned it down at the moment. Doesn't mean I turned it down for forever.
Right.
So, but on that point, like I'm involved in the Public Relations Student Society of America chapter, and I joined it freshman year, and I never saw myself as that type of amazing person when I was with the organization. I just did my part and did my job. But it was someone else who was in leadership talking to me, and that person said, she said, hey, like you should consider running like for officer like down the road, like once we graduate in 2024. Never would have thought about it. And then they put it in my ear that like, well, I could do it. So then lo and behold, I'm now currently the vice president. So it works out whenever someone from the upper echelon says like, hey man, like it's you. Like this could be you one day, and I hope it is, and like they hope it is you. And I can leave an impression whenever you're young, whenever you're like a freshman, like early sophomore.
Right.
Like that matters a lot. But this goes to something that I think we'll probably have very similar situation in, and that's as far as how our commitments are concerned. So you are an RA. Talk about that.
Yeah, so I'm currently not an RA, but I was.
Oh, you were? That's
it's
correct,
all right.
yes.
I was when I first rushed. And so
Yeah.
one of the biggest things with that occupation and joining sorority life, I was like, okay, like, can I do this? Will I have the time? And I think I was just really blessed because I had a really awesome boss that was willing to work with me, as well as awesome sorority that was willing to work with me.
Yeah. Well, that's what we tell everybody whenever like they're considering our organization. They say, oh, we're part of the hockey team. Oh, we do track and field. Oh, we do this on the side. Like, oh, I'm involved in student ambassadors. We tell them, we'll work with you.
Right.
Like, it's fine. Like, it's good to have people who are involved in all sorts of different areas because that's a recruiting mechanism, number one.
Yes.
They know people within those. They can encourage people themselves. But number two, just to gain more respect and notoriety for your chapter on campus.
Right.
Like, people associate Greek life. They have their own stereotypes about it, and you know sometimes I think Greek life they don't do much to combat those. But if you know someone who's in the organization and you know them personally outside of the Greek, but then you see they're in Greek life, like something must have attracted them to it, so there must be something of respect here.
Right.
That changes minds. That changes minds very quickly.
Yeah.
So how are you doing when it comes to that type of recruitment? Like, are you looking outside organizations too? Like, how have you been like assessing it that way?
Yeah, we're definitely trying to look for PNMs that have, whether it's just like life experience or like campus experience with other occupations and clubs and stuff, because like you said, like not only is that a recruiting mechanism, but like learned experiences go a long way. And so I feel like when we are looking for these people that have like fresh perspectives and like new information, it can be really helpful for our chapter as well.
Yeah, and ultimately, like, one thing that I look at in terms of that is I am huge on, you know, preparing people for their future. And I think Luke's a great example of someone that, like, you know, he's juggling multiple different things at once. But at the end of the day, it's going to pay off. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, I want people that are going to be, you know, on the hockey team, a student ambassador, an RA. Because then they can say that they were an RA and were in our organization. Like, all I'm going to say is, Theo, he rushed as an RA. And then he ultimately became our alumni relations chair, which I think is one of the most important chairs that we have and looks absolutely incredible on a resume. But, like, that's what I'm looking for is I tell these people, like, do all this because at the end of the day, it's going to pay off because when you're interviewing for a job, they're going to ask about this stuff. Like, I will never forget this. I interviewed for Red Robin a couple months ago. Shocker, didn't get it. But within the second question, she was like, I see you're in Kappa Sigma fraternity. You're on the, you're part of leadership. What has that taught you? And I sat back and it like took me a second to like answer because I was like, I was in shock. I was like, there's
Right.
no way she just asked that on the second question.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, the first question was, what is your name? So it was the first like major question. I was like, whoa. Because like I was always told that like, you know, being in Greek life is really good for a resume, really good for your future. But I guess maybe it's not that I didn't believe it. It was just like, I never personally experienced it, so I didn't know. So like having that firsthand experience right there, I was like, whoa, this actually does mean something.
Yeah.
So like every time that a recruitment cycle comes around, I share that story. I share the exact same story because it means something to me. And like we had several guys, several of our new members are very, very involved. Gian, I think he's involved in like
Oh my God.
7 or 8 clubs. Joe is on the track team. So it's like we will work with these people, and I tell them. Nick, as another example, works like 4 jobs. I don't know how he does it, but he does it. But you know, that's definitely something that we've hit well on, and we've seen our numbers increase since we've, I guess, opened up to a whole new community. I guess that is the best way to put it.
Right. And like talking about resumes, one of the biggest thing I stressed to PNMs this weekend, not only this weekend, but since I've been in, is that like, yes, this is going to give you a safe space in a community, but it's also going to help you later in life, like with a resume. Because like I had a similar experience where like I was told that Greek life on an application is going to be impactful and like it's going to be important, but I didn't necessarily believe it because like there's still so much stigma around Greek life. And like having an experience where it just contradicted like those stigmas and those preconceived thoughts. I was like, okay, I understand now. Like this is a great thing. I'm gonna tell everyone that I can how good Greek life can be.
Yeah, and I think, you know, going to Andrew's point, you know, I'm currently doing an internship right now this semester, and I was talking with, like, I had several meetings with staff members there at the organization I'm with, and one of the people I was talking to, you know, we were just going through a conversation. He was explaining his job. I was explaining, like, some of my things, and the last thing I mentioned to him is I knew because I looked at his LinkedIn profile and saw, like, he was a member of, I forget which fraternity it would have been, but he was a part of Greek life, and he was a president of it when he was in college. So I kind of knew, like, okay, if I bring this up, it's going to mean something to him. So then I said, by the way, like, you were in Greek life in college. And then he said, yes. And the conversation just like that just took off for another 5 or 10 minutes of just telling stories, like all the good and bad that comes with it and everything in between. And because it's just one of those things where when you're in it, you get it. Like, you get that sense. And it's like, it's one of those things, again, like you say, don't knock it till you try it. But like it's almost the saying goes, like, you want to know why something is the way it is and do it yourself. Like, we want to know why people want to do Greek, like people would ever consider join Greek life, and then you'll find out.
I hate to interrupt you, but that
Yeah.
is so real because before I rushed, I was like the biggest Greek life hater. I was like,
Oh,
I would
yeah.
never do it. Like, that's not for me. And then I met KDPHI at AS. And
Yeah, I swore against anything that would have had anything to do with that. I mean, because like you see in pop culture and how it's portrayed, and it's like, you know, again, do we sometimes fail to prevent that stereotype from happening? Yeah, but at the end of the day, whenever you're involved in it, you find the right organizations, then again, that stereotype gets destroyed pretty quickly. But I kind of mentioned it earlier. I want to shift gears back to when you were an RA, because RAs, I don't know how they do it. It's sometimes I struggle to understand why they subject themselves to the job that is. Why did you do it, number one? And number two, like, what did that teach you as far as just managing people and dealing with, and just put it in layman's terms, absolute nonsense?
Yeah, so I became an RA because I was looking for an on-campus job, and then I realized, like, okay, if I'm an RA, I get paid and I can live alone. So, like, that was wonderful for me. And, like, being an RA, it definitely taught me a lot about communication and problem solving, heavy on problem solving. You're in these communities with people who don't know each other, but they're expected to live with each other, and we face so much adversity. But at the end of the day, like, it was just, I would do it again. I would be an RA again, just because, like, even though you do have these challenges, like, you meet residents that are so kind. You have bosses that are so kind. And, like, being in community with your other RAs in your building, having another social group to be a part of that isn't Greek life is really important, because like maybe there are some things that I can't stress to my sisters, but I can stress to my coworkers. So
I think it's really refreshing, and it gives you a whole new perspective. And also, like, a lot of the time, you know, let's say some of your coworkers are, you know, anti-Greek, you know, and then having you being able to be their friend, you know, maybe that proves the stereotype wrong.
right.
Because then they're able to see, like, okay, Aubree's actually a really cool girl. Like, you know, I really like her. You know, maybe the stereotypes that I've been thinking all along are wrong.
Yeah, no, that is so real, because I was really close with my staff, and when I told them that I was joining Greek life, they clowned me for it, and then they realized, like, hey, she's still going to be the same person, and it was the same person, and I think that allowed them to have a little bit like growth in their respect for Greek life, and I think that's just an awesome opportunity.
Yeah, and I think one of the things, like whenever I was pursuing Greek life, I think the people that were connected with me and the people that knew me, I don't think they were so opposed to it just because they knew I was kind of in a rut emotionally. So I think they thought it as if, well, if that's what it takes to kind of get yourself, you know, put together in a sense, then that's what, like, will support you in that effort. I mean, my family, they supported me very much. A lot of it was also just because I explained it early on to them. That was something that, like, was very important to me. And that is a broader aspect of it, because I definitely think that perception of Greek life, you know, it goes back to the whole family as well. And that one's kind of a tough obstacle to sometimes hit, just because whenever you have, like, people recruiting and how their family assesses it, like, our organization, like, we very much prioritize, if we have parents with concerns or any issues, we very much want to talk with them directly to assure them, hey, like, it's okay. We're going to take care of everybody. They're going to a good place. Like, here's all the ways that we're going to help them. And I know, like, I've obviously never been a part of these conversations, but I know our officers, like, they've done those conversations, and it matters a lot. I think it matters a lot to try and change perceptions, but obviously it doesn't happen all the time. But regardless of that, I mean, how have you seen that? Like, have you ever had those situations where, like, you've talked with family?
Not with family specifically, but that situation does resonate with me. I come from a very traditional household,
Right.
and I was scared to tell my parents that I was joining Greek life. And I think it's nice that we have organizations like Kappa Sigma, like, wanting to reach out and talk to parents to kind of ease those concerns, because, like, yeah, it's like, you're a student, it's your decision, but, like, if family's important to you, like, you do want to consider them, and you do want to include them in that conversation.
And that's one of the things, like, we tell everybody in an organization, like, one of your first priority is your family, like, period, like, no exceptions. Obviously, like, we have expectations as an organization, like, for, like, what you're going to do with us and the time commitment that involves. But at the end of the day, like, your family's interests those precede anything.
Right.
That matters a lot to us. But we're a half hour through, so we'll take a quick break here. Again, you're listening to Greek Speak on WSYC 88.7. Luke, Rainey, Andrew Mercier, and special guest Aubree Meyers.
As veterans, we're no strangers to helping others.
It's what we were taught, trained, and told to do.
Aubree, what are you studying again?
It could be for anything.
Psychology and criminal
Helping a friend
justice.
move.
We're going to talk about that.
Listening to a fellow veteran for hours, in any hour of the day.
Or just simply making time for people. A neighbor, a loved one, or even a stranger.
We're often the first to help others. There's no question about it.
But we do have one question for the veterans listening.
When was the last time you reached out for help?
Best song now.
Perhaps it's time to do for yourself what you would do for others.
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment, or mental health, don't wait. Reach out.
Find more information at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Greek Speak for the second half of our hour. So I want to switch gears just a little bit here, Aubree, and talk to you about what you're studying on campus. So what is your major, and what are you looking to do afterward?
Yeah, so I'm a psychology major with a minor in criminal justice. And for a while, I had no idea what I wanted to do with those those areas of study, but I always knew that like that's what I wanted to be a part of. More recently, I've been looking into becoming a parole officer. I think like community rehabilitation and like trying to help people who have faced adversity is something that I really am passionate about. And so I picked up my criminal justice minor because I had a class called psychiatric rehabilitation, and in that class we learned about like community involvement and how to include people with like serious mental illness in their communities and give them like a better quality of life. And then I picked up my minor just because I was interested in it, but I ended up writing a paper for my intro class, Intro to Criminal Justice, and I researched like a parole officer career, and I kind of realized like, hey, like this is really similar to psychiatric rehabilitation. Like obviously not dealing with mental illness and dealing with like criminals, but I think the ideals are very similar, and I think like that is just something that I'm really set on.
Yeah, I think it's a very, needed career. Obviously, parole officers are needed every day in multiple different communities.
Right.
And, it takes a lot of courage to be a parole officer, as, you're meeting with people that sometimes have some really tragic stories, and, it's really hard to, they're looking to you to be their resource, to be the light at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
So, like, I think that's honestly one of the hardest jobs because, let's say you have a bad day. You can't go into work and show that you're having a bad day because they've had multiple bad days. So, as much as it sucks, you got to put on a fake smile and, pretend that everything's okay.
Right.
And I think that's a very challenging task. But, have you always studied psychology, even going back to Bloomsburg?
So I started my freshman year at Bloom in Shippensburg as an education major. And my first semester at Bloomsburg, I was just taking gen eds, no education classes, so I didn't really know what that looked like. And then I transferred to Ship, took education classes, and I was like, that is absolutely not for me. But like, shout out to all ed majors because I don't know how you guys do it. But when I was going, like, I applied to colleges and trying to figure out what I wanted to do, psych was always my second option. So.
Right. So, just kind of switching gears a little bit. You talked about like living close.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you from?
I'm from Perry County, Pennsylvania. So.
Can we dumb that down? I'm a little dumb.
Okay. Well, honestly, like to put it in the easiest way I can, like if you're standing on Seth Grove, like that mountain, like on the other side of that mountain. So not super far, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your home life atmosphere like? Obviously, you talked about like, being very close with your mom.
Right.
And, that's something I resonate with.
Yes.
It's really unfortunate because my mom got married last summer or 2 summers ago and moved farther down south. She's in Southern Maryland now, so it's about 3.5 hour drive. So it's definitely a lot harder to see her.
Yeah.
Last summer was the first summer that I wasn't home. I stayed here. And it definitely was challenging at some points. I mean, I was working a lot, but like, no one was here. I mean, Luke lived up here at some points.
Yeah.
Very lonely at some points.
Right.
And like, that was something that I was really scared of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like kind of piggybacking off of that, yeah, this is my first summer as well where I was here and not at home. And I made it a goal that like I wanted that to be my first summer where I wasn't at home because I was eyeing up internships in the area and I got one. But like I'll tell you what, this is going back into the community within the community of Greek life because I think the summer is what really did it for me as far as really feeling like I truly was a part of the organization and really like appreciating what it would do for me because I don't know what I would have done without it because there were certainly times where I was going stir crazy and probably like a little emotionally, I don't want to say destructive, but I can just tell you like I probably wasn't in a great spot. And that's just the fatigue of 3.5 months and then you're sitting there in early July and you're like, there's still 7 weeks to go before anyone's back. Like the routine I'm in is the routine I'm still going to be in for another however many weeks. Like I haven't gone home in how long. Haven't seen these people in how long, and even being down here doesn't really fix that. It just puts you in a different setting. But with that said, like, it was the people at the house who really saved me. Those who were still there. It was somebody. It was like 4 or 5 people. Andrew was there. DJ was there. Alex was there for, you know, a little bit of time. Jordan Peters was there for a little bit. Mike Burrows was there. Who else?
I think that's about it.
That was about it. Yeah, that was about it. But it was nonetheless, it was enough to get through for like that amount of time. But do you find that within KDPHI NOS as well? The communities within the community?
Oh, 100%. Like, just in our sorority group chat, like if someone asks, like, oh, who wants to go do something, like someone is always willing. And like talking about summer specifically, a lot of our sisters are from like central Pennsylvania, Maryland, like Pittsburgh. And so like we're not super, super far. But my roommate, my best friend, and she's also a sister, Abby Hess, she lives like 30 seconds down the road from me. We went to high school together. So like I have never felt a disconnect in times where we're not all at ship because I knew I always had her. Or like my little Haley, she lives about an hour away. And so just like it takes a little bit of driving, but like obviously like if you love these people and like you want to see them, like you'll go, you know?
Oh yeah, definitely. And like I said, I mean that helped me survive. And if I'm down here again, I mean I still don't know where I'm going to be this summer, but like if I'm down in this area, that's definitely the crutch I'm going to need to get through that period of time. But yeah, you look at that, and you know we talk about big littles. I mean we talked about it before on the show, like my big Jack Burkhart. You have to have a little. Andrew's over here, and he's got a whole family reunion at his like arsenal at this point. I feel like, but how does that look like? What's your family line structure kind of?
Gotcha. So my big Alyssa Stracco, she graduated spring 24. So she's not here anymore, but I do miss her every day. But my little Haley Mosteller, she's our PR chair for KDPHI NAS. So if you see her Instagram, it's her work. But
yeah, we shouted her out. I think they were the first show of season 2.
Yeah, they were.
So I know Luke and Haley were had a good old part about talking about their experience as PR.
Right.
But you can get back to what you were saying. I don't know if you were saying anything.
That was pretty much it. I don't have a G
Oh,
little
no.
yet, so I just got my
I definitely have a G little. I mean, as Luke was saying, family reunion every year. My big Jake Corwell went early alum. He moved out of the house. He's living at home. He's actually doing an internship. So he wasn't taking enough classes at school to be a full-time student. I miss him dearly. Like I remember that. Like he was one of the first people that I connected with. Within Kappa Sigma. And, a lot of people can say that Jake's quiet and people would say that we're different, but honestly, I can be quiet. Like I was just talking to Hindi, our president, about it yesterday. We were on Xbox and he was like, dude, when you first came around, you didn't talk much. Like me and Mike go way back. We've been best friends for pretty much our whole life. So he's the outspoken one, and everyone knows him. Everyone hears him. The good, the bad. But we all love him. But as I was saying, I was the quiet one. I was the more close guarded, and I kind of still am that way. I'll talk to people, especially around recruitment. You'll see me being extra social, but there's that's what that's my job. I have to do that.
Right.
But when I just when we have people over to the house, there's a lot of time that I won't hang out with everyone because I value my own time, and I kind of credit that to back when my high school years. I had a lot of friends, but throughout the week and stuff like that. My mom was a single mom, and she worked nights, so it was just me and my siblings, and I lived in the basement. My siblings lived upstairs, so they kind of just did their own thing. And there was a lot of times where it was just me, and that's where I really developed my sense of alone time.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's kind of what got me through the summer was I was used to being alone. But there's an expiration date on that.
Right.
Let's say I can spend 7 hours alone, but then I'm all right, now who I want to talk to someone.
Right. It's good to have time to reset your social battery and get yourself together a little bit.
Exactly. There was definitely several times last semester where I was my social battery was beyond dead. It needed jump started. There was times where I took a body refresh day where I slept till 3, 4 o'clock, and it sounds terrible, but I've never felt better when I woke up.
Sometimes
like,
you need it.
Sometimes you need it
that day.
And I don't know. That's just something that I've always liked to do. Is like I always like at least I like to take at least like 2 hours a day to just sit and like play Xbox or something like that. And a lot of the time, I don't play with people. Like I won't play like multiplayer games. I just play by myself.
Right. It's nice to have like an outlet for self-care. Like I know myself. Like if I need that outlet, like I'll clean my room or I'll like play video games. Like the girls in my sorority know that I love Sims 4, and some of them call me for it, but like it is my favorite game. So yeah, I definitely connect with that. Like
Sims 4, is that the game where you're building like the roller coaster and stuff like that, or am I even close?
No. It's just like a virtual reality. Like you have like a person, like an avatar, and you can build houses and have jobs. It's like really dumb. And
okay.
like
maybe I was
but
thinking
I
like
love it.
I was thinking like Sim City or something like that.
That-
Or is that
Sim
am I
City-
on the right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you're thinking.
I think I'm like mixing that up with like
Right.
Roller Coaster Tycoon. That was like from like 2005. Yeah.
Oh my word.
Yeah. No, I never played games like that. I mean, I was very much like it had to be Mario. Like
Oh,
whenever
yeah.
I was like 4 or 5 years
Yes.
old, all the way up to 8, and then Minecraft comes in and just like cleans all that
I
out
love
instantly.
Minecraft.
The amount of hours I spent building that, and it's like every like now of course you have the 2-week Minecraft craze.
Right.
I mean, we had a Minecraft chair for a while.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, it was Brody Bellick. So we had a lot of brothers playing Minecraft, and a lot of new members who were getting on it. They call this a realm, which is basically a server that you can invite people to, and it's kind of this exclusive thing. But you don't. The realm, hard to explain. You don't need the host of the realm to be active in order for
Yes.
everybody else to join.
Right.
That's what makes the realm nice. And you pay a little bit of money to like operate that realm like each like month or so. So like everybody who participates in it, like they pitch in a little bit. That kind of almost like a potluck. It reminds me of some sorts. But basically, we had a craze going on. It's a canon event, I think, for pretty much anybody in our generation, where your friend group just kind of has this 2-week phase where it's just Minecraft and that's it. So
Yes.
we had a temporary Minecraft chair who reports to us what was going on in the Minecraft world and everything like that.
Yes.
It's weird. We have a lot of oddball chairs now at this point. We're very big as an organization, so we now have a motivation chair.
Okay.
Yeah. That Owen
Yeah.
Frederick has taken over that duty. So I don't know if you ever met Owen Frederick. He's
I think he's
Yeah.
the perfect person for that.
Oh, he's
job.
my
awesome.
goodness,
Yes.
yeah. The motto this week, by the way, and this is where we're going to pitch to everybody else, is be excellent. Be excellent, in your social interactions. Be excellent when you're studying. Be excellent on this show. Everything like that. It's all about being excellent, according to Owen. And it all fed back into the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, by the way. So he was he found a way to get the room going. So I'm looking forward to the report this weekend, seeing who comes up with it. But we'll be back in a few seconds here. Take a short little break. Again, listen to Greek Speak with Luke Rainey, Andrew Mercier, and Aubree Meyers. I want to talk a little bit about Greek Week.
Okay.
Were you on the committee last year?
I'm on it this year. I'm one of the.
Listen to Greek Speak on WSYC 88.7 FM from Shippensburg, Pennsylvania, for engaging conversations about all things Greek life with Luke Rainey, Andrew Mercier, plus special guests every Friday at 10 a.m.
All right, so we're now at an interesting point of year. So we've already done our recruitment, so our new members are in, and it's obviously a semester-long process to kind of get that phased in and all that. But this year, it really climaxes in early April, and this is what it is for spring semester. I was a total 0 when it came to this last year because I was away for a week-long conference. It's Greek Week. So Greek Week, second week of April, I think that's like trying to think of the dates. 7th through the 11th.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about what KDPHI NOS is planned for that, and I know obviously we're kind of waiting for more guidance from the university about themes and events and whatnot, but talk to us a little bit about Greek Week.
Right. So it's still kind of early, so we don't have exact ideas, but we do have lip sync chairs and Greek Week chairs. So things are kind of ramping up for them, just a flow of ideas, getting perspectives from other sisters and what we want to see. But I just found out the other day that I'm one of the event coordinators for Greek Week, so I'm really looking forward to that. I love being involved and I love having leadership positions, and then when I saw that I got that position, I was just really excited because I love Greek Week, and I love seeing our community come together, and I think being a part of that is going to be really big.
Yeah, kind of to like dumb it down a little bit, like to think of like what Greek Week is kind of like combine like field day that you had like in elementary and middle school and like the Olympics and put them all together.
Right.
And it's just all Greek organizations competing against one another. You have all the fraternities competing against each other, and then all the sororities, and then the huge which I don't understand why, but usually lip sync is on Thursday, and then there's an event on Friday. I think how it should go is I think lip sync should be the grand finale. I think because that's the big event. That's the one that everyone looks forward to.
Yeah, I agree. I wish it was on Friday, but it's nice for KDPHI NAS specifically and Kappa Delta Phi fraternity because our convention is usually that weekend, and so people are driving on Friday. So like, it's nice for us, but I do agree that like I think it should be on a Friday. It's just a great way to end the week.
Or even just have it on Thursday and just have nothing on Friday.
That too.
Like kind of just have it as the final like haraj.
Right.
But I remember I guess the semester that I was a new member, which would have been spring of 2023, we did not participate in lip sync, and it was kind of sad. I think we were like the only frat, and it was kind of a little bit embarrassing to say the least. But last year we participated and we went all out to say the least.
Yeah, I'll say this. I mean, last year, like I was seeing like the talk during like in group chat stuff like that, like throughout Greek Week. Like while I was away, like it was a very weird feeling because it's like, well, I'm loyal to this organization or trying to become very loyal to this organization, yet it's their big week and like there's nothing for me to do just because there was no way for me to do it since I was away. But I was kind of secretly happy about the whole thing because like we coordinate our dances like when it comes to lip sync battle. Like we're very serious about like trying to compete for that one, and I was able to kind of get out of like that type of commitment for it. But then once all of my friends are sending me videos Thursday night of an auditorium full of like 500 people, loud, crazy, chaotic, people cheering you on, and like the coordination of the dance, that's when like I started kind of getting the feeling of, oh man, like I really want to be a part of this next year. Now I'm not the best dancer, so maybe I'll do like just one or two of the dances and that just take photos for the rest of it. I'll use my PR chair as an excuse to get some publicity in. But when it comes to the other events, I'll tell you like the ones I want to do. So just gonna lobby it for you now since you're events coordinator. Try and make them like 6:30 or later in the day because I have commitments in like late afternoon. But like I want to do. I heard Jeopardy. I heard the spelling bee. Like those are things that are on the agenda. Count me in, sign me up. I want to partake in those things. Like the academic competitions. Oh boy.
I feel like people really get into academic competitions, and I don't know. It's just something fun to be around. It's something fun to see. But yeah, for sure.
Well, it's amazing like how oftentimes you'll have organizations like, and it's it's not just me, but like there's other people in organizations where like they are just fundamentally smart people.
Right.
Like they just know a lot of information. And it doesn't necessarily like whether or not they're school smart as far as like GPA. Like there's oftentimes not even correlation between that.
Right.
Like they're just smart.
Right.
Like it's crazy, but that's where competitions like that, it brings out the best in people, and that's what Greek Week's all about because it's bringing out everybody's different strengths, everybody's different talents, and then putting the organization's best foot forward, like against other organizations. But ultimately, it's you're competing against each other, but you're also competing together because you're all under the same umbrella for the same cause.
Right.
So yeah, Greek Week is going to be a spectacle for sure. And I guess like for us, like that is like kind of the point where like our new members, like they're going to be pretty much, I mean, that's going to be towards the end of their process, I think. And that's a big deal because it's almost a way, for my opinion, for them to like, this is their crowning achievement. Like this is you guys, like you guys are just as much part of this as we are.
Right.
And here's a chance for you to show like how much you love and care about our organization because they fundamentally do. That's why we took them in the first place. But it's going to be a great way for them to be a part of it, I think.
Right. I believe our new members will be official sisters by then. And so, like, not only is it, like, a crowning achievement, but it's also just fun. Like, they just are officially part of the organization. Like, this is a good week for them to just not only get to know us, but to get to know other people in the Greek community. Because, like, going through recruitment, like, they made connections. This is another chance to see those people that they weren't already around. So, I think it's a really good opportunity, and I'm excited.
It just adds to this sort of end of year type of atmosphere. Like Andrew said, field day. Like field day is always
Right.
towards the end, and it's like we get to April, the weather's warming up, the days are longer, the nights are shorter, that type of thing. Obviously, everything else is getting busier too, so it's just everybody's slammed for a week straight. But also, Greek Week kind of has that sort of way of, okay, like these are commitments, and yes, you're gonna be busier throughout this week, but also while you're at these events, like just relax and shut off.
Right.
Like just take that time to enjoy everything. So
Yes.
it's gonna be a great time. And again, I'm looking forward to. Obviously, with my schedule, it's messy, but like I want to be a part of it as much as I possibly can for all that everything that's going to go down for it. And thanks for your work to organize that, because that's an extra responsibility. Like you said, you like taking charge of things, you like having those positions. But I know that can, like, a lot of times that collapses your schedule. Like that just, it books you as like one extra thing you got to do, and it's hard sometimes because sometimes one extra thing can feel like too much.
Right. I
Yeah.
do resonate with that, but at the end of the day, like, I just love being a resource that people feel like they can use to like voice their opinions and like things they want to see. And it's like, I think that's the biggest reason why I take leadership positions, is because I care about like validating others and like letting them be heard. So I'm excited
For sure. And one last thing on the show, we always like doing this. We typically do it a little bit sooner, but we want to make sure we wrap up with it. Is if you had any questions for Andrew and I, now would be the time to ask if you have anything in mind.
What do people typically ask about? Like
What do people
Greek life specifically, or like life experiences?
Anything, yeah, it's
Anything
all in
you
the
can think
hopper.
of.
So we've had questions about like what is one part of Greek life you think, like what's one misconception that people have about Greek life that you think like you try to stay away from. We had
Yeah.
questions like that, but anything on your mind?
I do want to ask about your new members.
Yes.
Like, what kind of vibe do you think they bring to your organization? Because like in my experience, like every new class is a whole different
Yeah.
vibe, and like I just want to get your feel for
That's-
that.
That is true, because I'll admit, like our fall class, like I felt like I knew almost all of them as they were coming in. This class, like, just not as familiar with the people there. And I think a lot of times just, fall, it's football year, it's football time, so everybody loves that. Then, like, it's a very easy way to just, hey, watch Thursday Night Football with us, that type of thing.
Right.
You don't have that so much in the spring. So I think this class, what I can tell you is you have a lot of different personalities with us.
Okay.
And I think overall we have people that are in the organization who are very polite in nature. They're extremely polite. And that's something that I value, because I like to think that even if I wasn't socially acclimated whenever I was joining, like, I hope that people at least found me to be polite whenever I talked with them one-on-one. And I think that's kind of where they're at right now. And they're going to get acclimated to the social cadence of us. I mean, that's how you are. The more time you spend with the group, like, you're going to kind of fit in with that. But I very much respect and admire that about them right now. They're polite.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I think kindness goes a long way.
Yeah. So I'll just, we're running a little low on time, so I'll answer the same question. I guess I would say I'm a little bit more familiar with the guys, just due to me being, quote unquote, in the trenches with them, like, making sure that I was really recruiting these guys and everything like that. They're all unique, but they're all smart individuals. Tyler, he actually shares the same major as me and Luke, so and Patrick, I believe. So that was something that him and I like resonated on. But like, that's one thing that I find is anytime I recruit someone, I find one thing that we have in common, and then I kind of hit on that and go from there. Like Drew Williams in this past semester, I saw him and Bryce. I saw that they liked the Orioles, and I hit on that, and then we're off to the races. So they're all unique. They're all smart individuals, and I see several leaders in all of them, and I'm very excited to see how this semester goes and how their journey in Kappa Sigma goes. But I just want to say thank you so much for coming on. I know Luke definitely feels the same way, but I was definitely really excited for this one. You were one of the people. You were one of the OG guests. It's just a little hard to bring you on. You always work on Fridays.
I know.
But just really happy to have you on, and I hope you have a great weekend.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. This was awesome.
All right. Anything else to say, or?
No, that's about it. So I'll be missing from the studio next couple weeks, have some other commitments going on, so it's going to be a while before I'm actually back in here running the show, but definitely a great conversation with you, Aubree, and again, we thank you for your time. But for all those listening at home, we'll talk soon, so take care of yourselves.